Welcome to Your Bread and Butter podcast. I'm Andrew Beaudry.
And I'm Ryan Cummings.
And I'm Shannon Asselin.
Today we're going to be talking about the client advisor's love and how to get the most from your financial relationship.
The best financial plans don't come from great advisors alone. They come from a great partnership. It's about balance, about not only just the advisor giving advice, but the client responding to that advice and implementing that advice along the way. It takes a team.
It does.
To establish a financial plan.
All right. See you soon.
Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Private Financial Design LLC are not affiliated.
Bread and butter.
Welcome back. So, hey, today we're going to be looking at how to get the most from that financial relationship you have with your advisor. And truthfully, the best financial plans don't come from great advisor work, doing things alone. They come from great partnerships. And this is truly something that is not really about just the clients getting blamed for something that they do or don't do. It's really about showing how both sides of that partnership between the client and the financial advisor contributes to the success along with the teamwork of the administration that works in that office.
You are 100% correct. When we are working with clients as well as our advisors, a lot of clients think it's just a service transaction, and it's not that. You have to have a relationship. There are things that clients are responsible for, there are things that the advisory team is responsible for, and also the administration on the backside. Our advisors can only be as effective and help the client's behavior and the information that you take on, whatever they want to tell you. But when they also ask you to do something in return, it's very important that it's a two-way street.
It's a concept of driving your own outcomes, right? When an advisor can give some advice, and maybe there are some things we can implement when it comes to maybe certain transactions around accounts that we're actually managing. But there's a lot, maybe 90+% of the rest of a financial plan that the advisor can't directly influence. And it's going to be that the client has to have some ownership over and some control over to actually make those processes, implement the plan, make the changes, all those sorts of things, and any updates in between. It's going to be on that client side. So it's like you said, I think it's a great perspective. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, and financial planning and working together as clients is not some robo-taxi or some Waymo device that's driving through the streets where you're like, well, I blame the car. Now, this is a mutual relationship, and you can't just get in the financial car and just go. Right. You have to do something together. So this is where a two-way relationship really is important.
It's a lot about communication and collaboration. I think that's the key in that any two-way relationship, not just with a advisor and a client, as we're going to focus on today, but really any personal relationship in your life. But specifically to today, it's important here too, being able to have that conversation back and forth and collaborate with each other.
I think one of the struggles that as administrators have, and you worked in administration directly with clients for almost 12 years. Almost 12 years. Yeah. So you understand the dynamic. So one of those dynamics is the fact that the advisor's communicating one thing to and for the client, and then the client is communicating back to the administrators, back to the advisor. Yeah. And if there's a breakdown in between that, somebody could blame the administrator, but usually it's the advisor and the client that are having the communication issues as the administrators do that. So.
It's very true. The admin, especially here at our office, we consider ourselves the front gate. And we do our best to help clients navigate what they need, either with their accounts, any questions that they have that might not be in the advisor's realm, because unbeknownst to a lot of people, the advisors don't run the whole show for the clients. There are administrative things like paperwork that the advisors actually don't really participate in. We are the ones creating the paperwork, making sure it gets signed, and little nuances like that we do sit in the middle of it. There is more to your relationship than just the advisor.
After 37 years of being in the business and having a master's degree in public administration, if there's one thing I know that I don't know, it's about paperwork. And so it's much better to have people do the things that they're really good at so that the team as advisors, we can be good at the things that we do. And paperwork's not one of my strong suits.
And I think it's not just paperwork, it's also processes.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a big
process,
piece of it too,
yeah.
is, you know, it's more than just, hey, what needs to be signed and dotted. It can sometimes be, well, you know, we, the advisor, know, well, here's what we want done.
Right.
But what are the steps to get there?
Correct.
Yeah.
And sometimes we know it, sometimes we don't. Depends on, you know, that's not always the realm that we live in. The realm we live in is more so, well, the goal is this for the client.
Right.
We want to get them to end point B, you know, from point A to point B. We might know the general path to get there, but there could be certain processes that, you know, we aren't always the most familiar with because we don't deal with them on a day-to-day
Right.
basis. And, you know, that's where we lean on you guys, and that's where, you know, clients need to lean on.
Yeah.
Shannon, how many times have you heard from Ryan or myself or other advisors where we say, that can't be right? They want what?
Many times, and we will get the answer, and you'll still question it, and
Like, really?
then it turns out, and you guys will come back and be like, "We're so sorry, we didn't listen to you the first time."
It has to be that way.
Yeah.
And of course, we are, you know, obviously it's everybody's best interest to try to get things done.
Because there's a lot of things behind the scenes that even the clients don't know of, you know, compliance wise with broker dealers and laws with FINRA and stuff like that. That our administration, our role is to help guide the advisors to make sure that you guys are doing your stuff
within those
appropriately.
guidelines, like you
Yeah.
said, within those
Right.
those laws and those rules.
Exactly.
And then there's times as the compliance person, I'm the registered principal for our firm, there's times when I have to come to our administrative staff and say, okay, we got this new paperwork, this new thing we need to do, and put it into process. And then it's their job to figure out how to do it. And then Ryan and I might tweak it, or we might just say, okay, you know, surrender to it and get it done. But Shannon, what's our first topic here as far as the client's role? So first thing we're going to do is going to focus on the client's role, because really, realistically, this is for you watching, people who are watching. What's the first thing that is important?
That as our client, we love for you to be open and communicate with us. There are times that you will be in a meeting and you think the advisor is asking you something out of the blue, but there are reasons that they ask you for certain things like a tax return or your family health history if you're doing life insurance or something like that. So it's very important that you share that information, update us, you know, throughout the process so the advisors can do what they do best and build their plan.
So one of the common questions we get from people, the administrators will call up and they'll say, hey, we need your tax returns so that Ryan and I can work with you on it. And what do people sometimes say?
It's why?
Why?
What do you need that for?
What do you need that for? Why do you need our legal documents?
Why do you need the tax return, Ryan?
It's a big part of the planning process. I mean, a lot of decisions revolve around your income, your tax bracket, and then even on top of that, we do a lot of tax planning. So, you know, a lot of CPAs, not every CPA, not to put down CPAs by any means, but a lot of CPAs these days are focused on simply processing taxes, not so much analyzing them. And that's where we step in. We will analyze people's taxes as well as using them for planning. And it's for both of those purposes that we do need them. And that's an important tool in the planning process.
And Shannon, what would be the number one document for married couples that you would consider to be the most important document to have on file as an administrator?
Their power of attorney.
Why is that?
Because if something happens to your spouse, we need the other spouse to have access.
What do you mean happens? Are they dead? I mean,
No, once they're dead, the POA is dead.
okay.
So let's say, you know, we'll use Ryan and his wife as an example. Let's say Ryan became incapacitated
Due to a barbecuing accident.
due to a barbecue because
Yeah.
he loves that
Right,
brisket,
that's
and his wife needed access to his IRA.
Yeah.
By putting a power of attorney on that IRA, she could call us, get information. There are limitations. This is not an open, hey, you can do whatever you want. But it gives access that we can help her and the family and give them peace of mind.
So this is why sometimes our administrators get a little kickback from people like, well, what do you need that for? Well, it's really for the client's benefit.
Their protection.
It really is a big part of it. And what's the next thing that is really important about the client's role in all of this?
What are your goals? It goes back to number one, when you're being open and communicating, when you're sitting down with your advisor, whoever it may be, know what matters to you. What is the most important thing to you and your plan? Is it, your retirement? Is it to travel? That's actually something, Ryan can speak a lot on.
Yeah, it's you're right. It ties into the communication, because ultimately we as advisors, we do try to ask questions and in the conversation to try to pull some of that stuff out.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's certain things, certain aspects of people's financial lives that even in conversation don't come up.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I've had clients where maybe we've been working them for years, working with them from years on end, and maybe at some point in the future we find out, oh, maybe they own a property somewhere that we never knew about. It wasn't communicated, and we can ask all the questions we can ask, but they have a goal of moving somewhere. We don't find out until maybe years into the relationship, and
when they need the funds for it.
Exactly. And it's like we can ask all the questions we want, but sometimes you as the client, you need to do some proactive thinking of, well, what didn't I bring up? Did I miss a debt? Did I miss an asset?
Right.
Do I have a goal that I want to achieve that, is maybe even if it's only half-baked, it's something I want to start to develop over time.
Right. These conversations, the more detailed, the better, which I know you appreciate.
I do. I mean, it ties in with our third part here, which is trusting the process. For me, this is the biggest thing. I try to explain to people who come in who are new clients or prospective clients and say, look, we're going to be really open with you, transparent about what we do, how we charge, what we do here, what our limitations are, what's expected. And we need that trust mutually from you. So we're going to give trust this way. We need trust to come back. So when you're focused on the long term, having somebody who's a trusted partner that you can turn to, ask advice, and all of the things that go with it, trusting the process is really key. And I think that's where, for you as administrators, when somebody says, well, what do you need that form for?
Right.
Why does it have to be signed again?
Right.
And
it's not even just about the forms, as Ryan had touched on earlier. There are especially if you are a prospect and just coming on board and you have accounts outside, there are things that we cannot do for you. Like, we cannot call the current custodian. The advisors cannot call because we don't have access. So as the client, part of your role is you do have homework that is part of that process to get to your end goal.
Yeah. And part of the challenge for Ryan and I is really our next topic that comes up, and that is helping our clients be engaged and responsive. Yeah. But you, as administrators, have the harder task.
We do.
We can light a fire under them.
Timely communication is key. It is, because certain things, they have time limits, whether it's, around those processes we were talking about where
the paperwork
only stays good for X amount of days or weeks before it expires and needs to be redone, or
retirement windows.
Retirement windows, rollover windows.
Somebody's supposed to make a contribution to the retirement plan. They have a deadline
Tax
date.
Deadlines.
60-day rollovers. We got to get it in within 61 doesn't count.
Right.
60 counts.
Right.
And so I feel like sometimes with financial decisions, they can sometimes take a back seat in people's lives. People get busy, and I think that's a natural part of anyone's life. But it's making sure that they don't completely fall to the back seat.
Yes.
You never come back to them. It's okay if you need to delay things or slow things down a bit, but staying on top of them is key.
That's key to being part of this, is being engaged and responsive.
Yeah.
And I think the next one, which Ryan, you can handle this one, because this is a really hard thing for us to communicate to clients as to what this is. So
I think for some people it's easier than others, but it's be willing to take advice. Being able to ask questions or understand a plan better even when it's something you don't necessarily agree with
or understand,
right? Or even understand. Something maybe you don't fully understand the reasoning behind it, or maybe you have a different point of view and a different outcome you thought was going to be part of this planning process. And so I guess where I'm going with that is it doesn't always have to be, hey, you have to blindly take your advisor's advice,
No.
and not ask questions, but it could be, be open to that advice, be willing to ask questions, and maybe be willing to find that balance, because I think that's where we can work with a lot of our clients as well. Is even if a client has some reservations with a certain piece of advice. I'll give an example. I think a common one that we often get pushback is using debt in a lot of scenarios, whether it's restructuring like a home equity loan or line of credit, or refinancing loans, or getting an auto loan when you've got a chunk of money sitting in your IRA and investments and whatnot. And we get, I think, aversion to debt, as a lot of people have, and that's something where long term those decisions, as using debt the right way, can really pay off and make you a lot of money when you leverage debt in a manner that's responsible, basically. And we get people that are opposed to it, that will push back. And I think it's about finding that happy medium of, well, if you don't want to take on this much debt, well, let's maybe use the balance of some cash, some investments, and some debt to find that happy medium.
Yeah, Ryan and I put a lot of time and effort into trying to get the right answers. Sometimes it's not single answer, it's options to our clients. And I know I've heard somebody say that they asked their financial advisor if they were their favorite client. And the advisor replied back with, well, you are definitely a prime source for my continuing education. Meaning they ask a lot of questions and they need a lot of answers and options.
Wait, you're not mind readers?
No, we're not mind readers. But how oftentimes do the administrators get caught in that crossfire when people are looking for why are they asking for this?
We're pretty much right there. I know one of the biggest things that our firm does is if a client is asking for a distribution, totally fair. But sometimes the advisor wants to know if it's unexpected, if it wasn't part of the plan, as you said. So again, that goes back to even the first few points, be open, what are your goals? And we do get well, they don't need to know that. But that's when we set up a phone call and you have a gentle conversation with them.
Well, that's actually one of our compliance needs is we're supposed to know what our clients are using the money for.
Yeah.
And we can, it's Patriot Act. It could be anything. But a lot of times these days is protecting our clients from scams.
Yeah.
Protecting our clients from, we've had multiple times, Ryan and I have touched on this in podcasts, where clients are taking out money in really odd amounts at different times. And then we found out that, our client was, getting scammed and ripped off. Not just one client, but we've had multiple. So we do ask for the protection of the client.
And that's something else that we sit in the middle of.
Not trying to be nosy or anything, but you're not in a position to give advice because you guys are not financial.
We're not licensed.
And you don't do that.
Right.
So lastly here, I think for the client is just to consider being consistent and disciplined. Yeah. Explain that, Shannon.
Wow. I got to put on my mom hat for that.
Yeah. Well.
I guess the best way to explain that and talk about that is, it might feel redundant. You might feel like you're constantly repeating things or being asked the same thing either by the administration or even by the advisors, but there's a purpose for it. It keeps everybody aligned. It keeps your financial relationship aligned with the advisors. It keeps actually a good rapport with the administrators because believe it or not, we've even had people, give us something like their tax returns and block off personal informations like social security numbers, thinking, oh, only the advisors see that. But administration, we are sitting in the middle of it with all of you. So
I think part of that consistency is those little actions add up over time too. I think I try to say this to clients all the time, whether it's new clients or existing ones, that when it comes to financial planning, it's all about efficiency. Yeah. And we try to make efficient decisions everywhere in your finances. And sometimes they only feel like small ones. I've had some conversations where, we're going to move money in from cash into investments or from debt to cash or vice versa. And, maybe that move is only going to save this person $500 or $1,000 at the end of the year or something like that. Like, well, is it really worth it? Well, the way I try to explain it is, well, if we can make that small decision 10 times this year, it's going to save you, maybe $1,000. We make that 10 times this year, 10 times next year, 10 times the year after that.
Right.
Well, now you're saving yourself $10,000 a year every year for the next decade. If you then also factor in a rate of return on that money, that's not just $100,000, that could potentially be $200,000, $250,000 if that money's leveraged properly. So it's kind of that, small little steps make a powerful result.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has things that they need to cover up and do and kind of recover from. But the truth is, you don't want to be the client that makes your advisor drink Irish coffee because regular coffee isn't strong enough. You don't want to be that client. But we also have our role as advisors. So let's take that one, Ryan.
Yeah, I think it's to ultimately be there for the client. And I think a lot of these overlap with the client role just from the reverse side. And one of them being that listening and understanding. That kind of ties in, I think, with the advice side of things where sometimes maybe our opinion, our point of view, or advice that we might give might be the best advice that we think is the best for that person's situation, but there might be other circumstances that we need to tweak that advice or tweak that approach, and you only really know that by listening to the other person's concerns and understanding the perspective of where they're coming from. I always like to use the example that there's kind of two ways to make a financial decision. There's the traditional finance perspective, which is the hard numbers, the emotionless facts. And then there's the behavioral finance side, which, doesn't disregard the numbers entirely, but it factors in how does a financial decision make you feel.
Yeah.
And you need to balance the two.
Yeah.
And I think this is where our administrators have done an excellent job at our firm. How is it that the administrator does that?
We listen. Number one, I would like to say, we take pride in our administration staff. There are times that, we're the first ones that get the phone call about a death of a client before the advisors get it. Or, my spouse is dealing with this diagnosis and we need to come in and how quick can you fit us in? And we tend to be, I don't want to say more sympathetic, but we have to put on a very emotionless.
You take on a lot of what people are bringing when they come in or when they call.
And because,
you are the first line.
And we are very close to our clients as well. A lot of people don't think, they just think administration is answer the phone, answer an email, and that's it. But we're connected quite deeply to a lot of the families. And so a lot of that news does affect us, and then it does affect you guys as well.
And part of that is that we are working with clients that are our third generation from original clients that started with me over 30 plus years ago. The next role as an advisor is very dear to myself and to Ryan, and that is to educate and guide our clients. This whole podcast is really designed for our clients to be educated and to guide them and to make sure that they either love our dad jokes or they get a big kick out of them. But seriously, educating and guiding our clients is our number one role. We like to actually talk to each other about the fact just kept that person from shooting themselves in the foot or worse, the head. But that's true. I mean, that's how you experience it. That's how I experience it.
Yeah, and I think part of that guidance and education is also tied into personalization.
Yeah.
Being able to create a plan when you're guiding people, make it simple, make it effective so they can understand it, but also personalize that plan to their needs and their goals and their wants. So,
absolutely.
While at the same time, meeting the standards for advice that, we want to give.
And making sure that we're going back to what Shannon's original start was about the goals. That's a big part of it. I think the other thing here next is communicating proactively.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we engage the staff with saying, hey, please call this client because we need to motivate this or we need to get clarity on this. And you've experienced that.
We have, and then honestly, just the opposite, as you had said earlier, there are times, like Ryan had said, we have an application, we have 30 days to get it done. And if we're getting to like day 28 and you're not responding to the admin, it's a big disappointment, big letdown. And then sometimes you guys actually have to also jump in and be like, hey, this has to get done and do the push.
But you guys are the ones that make sure that everything gets communicated properly and in a timing manner. Without that, Ryan and I, we can't do the work that we do. And we try to be proactive.
Yeah.
Try to get ahead of the curve on it. And, as certified financial planners in our role, it's Ryan and I's number one goal.
Fiduciary.
Always act as a fiduciary to act in your best interest as a client. That's our role.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think part of that tied into it is keeping our clients accountable, making sure that we, not only continue to follow up with plans, but, if something's not getting done, why is it not getting done? Are there additional apprehensions, or is it just a lack of knowledge? Is it a lack of discipline, or a little bit of both? And so helping people, work through that process to stay disciplined and, stay on top of those deadlines we keep talking about. I think it's an important part of the whole process.
And there's two. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, like Ryan had said earlier too, like hesitations, there could be a prospect that meets with us, they have a plan, and then let's say they go talk to their accountant or their CPA, and then there's other thoughts that come into their head that might cause pause. And
well, the idea of being accountable actually works two other ways. Ryan and I work together on different cases, and we actually hold each other accountable in very good, professional, healthy ways. But really, our staff does the same thing. It's like, hey, have you called so and so? Oh, don't forget about this. But there's times,
did you sign your part of the paperwork?
Right. And so all of those things, there's accountability that goes all through this. And even you as a client, it's okay for you to say, hey, I'm just calling to check. Did you, check on that mortgage situation? It's okay. We say we're going to be in touch with you within this next week, and we don't do that. It's okay as a client to say, hey, I need to hear from you guys on this. That's a very rare thing that happens, but it does happen, and everybody should be accountable in this process.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about here as we sum it all up, what a strong partnership actually delivers. Shannon, bring it in.
Wow. Which one should we start with? I think I actually want to start with the consistency portion because, again, as we've been talking about, it is very important just to be consistent in your communication, with your goals, because again, it's our role to actually support you as the client and to make sure that your goals actually come to fruition.
Yeah, and the resilience that comes from staying the course during when the markets are up, markets are down, life issues are developing, things like that. It's our role together to work to help create financial resilience, not just emotional resilience, but financial resilience to stick to your goals.
Because those ups and downs are naturally going to happen, not just in the market, but in people's lives. And as long as we can work through those, you then, start to see progress.
Yeah.
We mentioned it a couple times. It's a slow and steady race. It's going to be something that you might not feel the impact of a financial plan overnight, but you stay resilient, stay consistent. You start to see the progress that comes with it. And that's really where I think people start to appreciate, the power of financial planning when they start to see that progress and they start to see their accounts, really work towards what they're hoping them to eventually be, and their goals starting to come to fruition.
Right, and those three things, I believe, will definitely set that plan into a very clear vision for the clients.
That's important.
Because once you're over the hurdles, there's going to be some down the line, but there will be more smooth sailing,
The clarity does create this wonderful focus that you can adapt to as time moves along. And last of all, it helps bring confidence to the relationship, a strong partnership. And again, when you're working with your financial advisory firm, it's not just about you as a client and the advisor relationship. It's actually about your relationship with the whole team, because the advisor can't be available, 24/7, and neither can the administrators to that point. But it's the idea of giving confidence and knowing that when you call up, your needs are going to be met.
Right. And if they're not going to get met right in that second, we will find out the answer and get back to you either way.
All right, Ryan, let's give our folks here some actionable takeaways.
I think to summarize everything we've been talking about today, you want to make sure that when you do schedule a review, and make sure that you're having those regularly, whether it's once, twice, 3 times a year or more. But as you're preparing for those reviews, try to make sure you're thinking of those goals. We talked about that earlier. An advisor can maybe identify some goals for you, but make sure you have your own goals in mind. We're not mind readers. We can't always, pull those out of every conversation. So try to think of a few, write down your top goals, and, just have them open, like I was saying earlier, even if they're half-baked. Let's have a discussion about them.
And then Shannon, what's the next one? It would be important, right?
Organize those financial documents.
Oh my goodness gracious. So true, right?
Go to your lawyer, get them done
But even your own personal
wherever you
file,
can,
know
yeah.
where
Yeah.
the things are that
Yes.
you need.
Hard
you know?
copies,
Yes.
digital
No,
copies.
And we offer
And
for
we
our-
do keep everything digital.
We do. We offer our clients these digital vault that is highly secure that they have for themselves, and they can share a portion of that vault with us electronically. But having a place where you put all of your legal documents,
Yeah.
digital, paper, or otherwise, that's really important.
Yeah.
Last of all, I would say, and put this in as a takeaway here for that you can have as action out there,
Yeah.
is prepare your questions before the meetings.
Yep.
You know, really, the clients that I love the most are the ones that do ask a lot of questions.
And are prepared.
And they come in and they have a list of questions. And I really do love that. There's not a single client that comes in with questions
Right.
about stuff that is a problem. And if they don't have questions, that's okay too.
Right.
But I can tell that they're prepared because they've already gone through it.
And there's no wrong question.
Exactly right.
So.
So let's reinforce this. The best clients get the best outcomes, not by luck, but by choosing to act. And if you have an advisor, strengthen that relationship.
Right.
And if you don't have that kind of relationship with your client, start thinking about what kind of client you want to be and what kind of advisor would work.
The big takeaway from today is to just get the most out of your financial planning relationship. If you're feeling like, maybe you're not seeing the most progress, the progress that you'd like, think about some of these points, try to enact them with your advisor, or if you are an advisor, enact some of these things with your clients, and you should hopefully start to see some more progress.
And as an administrator, what's one thing that you could leave clients with as an actionable item in dealing with your administration?
Trust them. Trust the administration. They are just
important.
as important as your advisor is.
Yeah, particularly when you say that there's a deadline, paperwork needs to be done, all of that good stuff. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope that this has helped you very much, and really hopeful that you remember to live today for the tomorrow that's in your heart.
Because you'll never have more time to plan for tomorrow than you do today.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening.
Bread and butter.